do some reading in Advaita Prakasha. Haven't read from that book in a while, and we're on chapter 16. So these are pastimes in Chaitanya Leela, written by a direct disciple of Shri Advaita, Ishana, Nagara, direct disciple. So let's pick up where we left off. Chapter 16. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tina Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivishesha Sunyavadi Pasita Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura All glories to Sri Chaitanya. All glories to Sitanath. All glories to Nityananda, along with all the devotees. One day, Sri Krishna Chaitanya privately told his devotees that he wanted to go to Vrindavan. The devotees said to him, "It's the rainy season. We don't think this is a good time for you to go to Vraj." Gaur accepted their statement, saying, "The words of saintly devotees are as good as Vedic injunctions. Indeed, transgressing their instructions diminishes all auspiciousness." He then took his associates and went to Bengal. When he arrived in Shantipur, he went to the house of Advaita, who became overwhelmed in ecstasy on seeing Gaur. Advaita Prabhu roared and jumped high as he danced, and repeatedly declared, "How fortunate I am today!" The loving devotion of Mother Sita cannot be described. Tears flowed from her eyes like the Ganges and washed Gaur's entire body. Sita's sons were most powerful. Among them 3, Shri Achyutananda, Krishna Mishra, and Shri Gopal Das, were prominent in devotional service. Advaita Prabhu was always pleased by their saintly behavior. They all dedicated their lives to Lord Gauranga's service and bathed in the nectar of his love while observing his pastimes. Their loud singing of the holy names defeated the singing of Gandharvas. Sometimes, intoxicated with love, they would cry out loudly in ecstasy. Gauranga and Nityananda raised their arms and danced in Sankirtan party along with the devotees. I took bath in the nectarine waters of the Ganges, and then out of boundless good fortune, I was engaged in Gauranga and Nityananda's service. Sita cooked nectarine preparations with the 3 lords honored along with the devotees. Such ecstasy as was experienced there cannot be described. Only the most fortunate were able to taste their Mahaprasad. Receiving the auspicious news of Gaur's arrival in Shantipur, Mother Sachali joyfully came there. On seeing his mother, Gaur offered her obeisances, and Mother Sachali affectionately took the Lord on her lap. The devotees then relished in their hearts the mood of Mother Yasoda taking Krishna on her lap at Kurukshetra. Who wouldn't be moved by seeing these pastimes? Everyone's heart was attracted by the waters of that ocean of love. Mother Sachi then cooked a variety of vegetables, especially those that were dear to Gaur, like batuya shak. She cooked other preparations like squash and milk and cakes that were so delicious there could be no comparison. Shri Krishna Chaitanya then sat down to eat. With Nitai on his right and Advaita on his left, Mahaprabhu said, "The spinach preparation is the best." Nityananda said, "If I get a little more, it would be very nice." My Prabhu Advaita smiled and said to Nityananda, "Your love for the conditioned souls is like the flow of the Ganges." Nityananda then said, "Your face is turned upwards. How can you see anything below you?" The three lords all laughed loudly. Only the most fortunate could understand why. Mother Sachi gradually increased the excellence of her service as they held daily festivals in the house of Advaita Prabhu. After some days, the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya departed quickly for Vrindavan. On the way, he eventually arrived in the village of Ramakeli, where he met Rupa and Sanatan. Shri Rupa and Sanatan were oceans of knowledge in all subjects. They were ministers to the king, and as wise as Brihaspati. Mahaprabhu bestowed great mercy on them, so that they could give up all sense enjoyment and become non-envious. When Sri Chaitanya told them he was going to Vrindavan, Rupa and Sanatan privately discouraged him. The two brothers said, "O ocean of mercy, Mahaprabhu, please don't go anywhere with so many people." Hearing this from his devotees, Gaur decided to go south, and after a few days he arrived again in Shantipur. On his return, the devotees' ecstasy of love overflooded Shantipur as my Prabhu organized daily Sankirtan festivals. Seeing Mother Sachi there again, Gaur received her permission to visit Braj, but then he went south. On the way he met Raghunath Das, whose devotion enchants all devotees. In the waves of the aroma of the cooling desire tree of Gauranga, Raghunath Das easily gave up the poison of sense enjoyment. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself glorified his renunciation, a subject that I am unable to describe. One day, Sri Chaitanya left for Sri Kshetra. On again seeing Lord Jagannath, Gaur was saturated with loving sentiments. The devotees became intoxicated with bliss on seeing Gaur, and they held a grand Sankirtan festival. After some days, Sriman Vishvambar made up his mind to go to Vrindavan. One day, at the close of night, he secretly left for Vrindavan in a blissful state of mind. He abandoned the main path and traveled by side paths. He traveled through the forest of Jharakanda. Everyone who saw him was astonished. He loudly chanted the holy names, and the animals that saw him all gave up their violent nature. Mahaprabhu said, "O forest animals, chant Krishna's names and cry. Then you will be free from all material bondage." The order of the Supreme Lord is certainly infallible. Therefore all the animals chanted the name of Krishna and cried in love. Thus there was a great festival in that dense forest, as all the birds and beasts were delivered by the strength of the holy names. How can I describe the greatness of Sri Chaitanya's mercy? Even inanimate objects were delivered from material existence by the strength of the holy names. Sri Chaitanya's pastimes are like a great ocean that even four-headed Brahma cannot fathom. An insignificant soul like me can hardly know anything of them. Out of jubilation, I am writing just a fragment of those pastimes. Although ignorant persons do not have any faith in the Lord's pastimes, intelligent persons are certainly able to understand them. What to speak of the Lord's pastimes, even the devotee's transcendental potency can be understood only by a fortunate person. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued on his way, he preached the glories of the holy name and induced many persons to become Vaishnavas. After some days, Mahaprabhu arrived at Kashi, where he bathed at the Manikarnika Ghat. Tapan Mishra saw Gaur there and happily offered him obeisances. He invited Gaur to his house, and Gaur Chandra stayed there for some days. While in Kashi, Gaur went and danced before the deity of Bindu Madhava with raised arms. His dancing stole the hearts of everyone present. Then Gaur controlled his ecstatic love and offered obeisances and various prayers to the Lord. Gaur also had darshan of Lord Vishveshvara, Lord Shiva, and became overwhelmed in ecstasy. While there, only the words Hari Har, Hari Har came from his mouth. He offered obeisances and recited transcendental prayers to Lord Shiva, just as Lord Brahma recites the Vedas with his 4 heads. Seeing Gaur's uncommon devotion and form, everyone called him the emperor among devotees. Then Sri Chaitanya went to see Annapurna Devi, whom he addressed as Purnamasi. Sometimes Gaur laughed, sometimes he cried, sometimes he fell unconscious. While dancing, he sometimes roared in ecstasy. Seeing Mahaprabhu's activities, the residents of Kashi were struck with wonder. Some people exclaimed, "He must be an incarnation of God." Tapan Mishra then took the Lord to his house and offered him many food preparations. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu honored Mahaprasad with the others present, Chandrasekhar came there and met him. Thereafter, Sri Gauranga became enchanted with loving sentiments while seeing the deity of Adikeshava. In this way, Gaur had various festivals in Kashi and then continued on to Sri Prayag. Visiting the confluence, or Triveni, he was agitated in love and called out, "Kalinda Nandini, how fortunate I am to have darshan of the Yamuna." He then jumped into the waters of the river. Gaur spent the entire day under the waters of the Yamuna, and in the evening, out of compassion, he came out. A fisherman lifted the Lord out of the water into his boat. While sitting in the boat, Gaur engaged in Sankirtan. Everyone was enchanted by his sweet singing, until Gaur was happily brought back to the shore. Sri Sachinandana then attended Madhava's arti, during which he cried in ecstatic love. He raised his arms and repeatedly cried out, "Give me bhakti, give me bhakti." Such wonderful dancing as the Lord exhibited was never before seen by the people there. Moving and non-moving entities all cried, fearing his impending separation, and after a long time Gaur controlled his loving sentiments. He then felt amused when he saw Bhima's club. Then Gaur left Prayag on his way to Vrindavan. On the way, he delivered many living entities by giving them the treasure of loving devotion. Gradually, Gauranga arrived in Mathura Mandala, whereupon he became absorbed in the mood of the gopis and forgot himself while chanting. "Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where will I find him? Please save me. I'm burning in the fire of separation." As Gaur repeatedly sang this verse, his voice choked, and he could say only, "Kanha, Kanha." Gaur passed the morning in the mood of separation, and finally he frightened everyone as he rolled on the ground. Later, as Gaur became absorbed in his previous pastimes, he began running here and there in search of Kamsa. He roared like a lion, wildly waving his arms, and then suddenly jumped high. Who can understand his mind? As Gaur manifested various moods in this way, day and night passed like a moment. Sri Sachinandana then visited Dhruvagat, where he cried in ecstasy while remembering the pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj. When he saw a crowd of people gathering, he controlled his loving symptoms. After bathing in the river, he took darshan of the deity. Sriman Mahaprabhu then went on to Vrindavan. Upon arriving there, he fell down unconscious in ecstatic love. After a long time, Gauranga regained his consciousness. Then his voice choked up. He rolled in the transcendental dust of Vrindavan. In a mood of ecstatic love, he lamented, "Where is my beloved? Where is Krishna?" Day and night he searched for Krishna in this mood. Tears of love incessantly flowed from his eyes. As he traveled from forest to forest, he would sometimes loudly cry out. Sometimes he would laugh loudly for up to 3 hours, Sometimes he would roar like a lion. Who can understand his moods? The topmost loving sentiments exhibited by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are beyond the conception of even the demigods. Who has the ability to describe these moods? As Gauranga wandered on the various paths around Vraj, he repeatedly asked people to chant the name of Krishna. By order of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, moving and non-moving beings all chanted the name of Krishna, as Ananta Shesha does. When the cows and calves smelled the fragrance of Krishna's body, they surrounded Gaur and began licking his body. All the cows relished the nectarine taste of Gaur's body and cried in ecstatic love. Seeing this, Gaur said, "Vraj has inconceivable qualities. The residents of Vraj all have natural devotion to Krishna." Gaur then touched the cows with his lotus hand, and the cows all began to dance almost like gopis. Seeing the dancing of the cows, Gaur was inundated with love. He chuckled and danced like an intoxicated person. Here in Shantipur, Achyutananda, the son of Advaita, asked the whereabouts of Gauranga like a madman. Sometimes he would roar and ask, "Where is Gauranga?" Sometimes he would call out, "Gauranga," and cry incessantly. Sometimes he would ask, "Where is Gaurachandra, my life and soul?" Gauranga could understand the miserable condition of his dear devotee, and he called for Achyutananda to come. The son of Sita then went there like a yogi. The path from Shantipur to Vraj takes many days, but Achyutananda immediately went there on the flower chariot of Gaur's calling. Krishna and his devotees have inconceivable power. For them, anything is possible, nothing is unbelievable. When Achyutananda saw Gauranga, he claimed, "O Gauranga, you have come to this distant place, taking my life with you. Leaving the Vraj of devotional service, you have come here to the Vraj of the gopis. Will you return to the Vraj of devotional service, or will you remain absorbed in the mood of the gopis here? Although the Vraj of the gopis is full of transcendental bliss, the best part of that land is the Vraj of devotional service. Because of you, Sri Yashoda and other Vrajvasis have appeared in Navadvip, the Vraj of devotional service. I've come here to understand the mood that you accepted in this deserted Vraj of the gopis." Sri Gauranga said, "You are the topmost among pure devotees. You see Krishna manifest within all living entities. In ecstatic love, you say so many things to madmen. You even say the place of Radha Krishna's eternal pastimes is deserted." Sri Achyuta said, "Radha and Krishna have now combined together in one form. And for what reason? The transcendental form which even Ananta and the demigods have not seen is manifest before me due to my unlimited good fortune. Still, I've made a great offense when I said that Vrindavan is deserted. Then please excuse me out of your own saintly nature." Gauranga said, "Those who are eternal associates of Lord Krishna see the manifestation of Radha Krishna everywhere. Krishna considers them as dear as his life. He never considers their offenses. You are Krishna's eternal confidential devotee, and your association loving his sentiments awaken within me." Sri Achyuta said, "I consider your instruction more important than Vedic injunctions. You indiscriminately shower your pure mercy on the living entities. By your kindness you speak so humbly, but by your greatness is understood by your pure devotees. Only because I've taken shelter of your lotus feet do I consider myself most fortunate, although I am insignificant and ignorant of the absolute truth." Gaur said, "You have deep love for Krishna. Simply by the touch of your body a living entity becomes fortunate." Saying this, Sri Chaitanya firmly embraced Achyuta and then chanted the name of Hari in transcendental love. Sri Achyuta was overwhelmed by Gauranga's transcendental affection, and in the mood of a gopi began to dance like a mad person. Then Sri Chaitanya remembered Radhakund, and in ecstatic love he began to ask everyone the whereabouts of Radhakund. The residents of Raj replied, No one knows where Radha Kund is. On hearing the reply, Gaur fell unconscious. When Achyuta saw Gauranga's display of Mahabhav, he called out the names of Radha Krishna, and tears flowed from his eyes. Hearing the name of Radha, Gauranga cried out, "Where is Radha Kund?" Shri Achyuta said, "O Krishna Chaitanya, listen, as I describe the confidential truths regarding Radha Kund." Gaur said, "You are Krishna's eternal associate. You know the truth about the transcendental holy places." Shri Achyuta said, "I offer my obeisances to your mercy. You always expand the glories of your devotees. You have made up your mind to manifest the glories of these two holy places and to propagate the omniscience of your devotees. Radharani has invested all transcendental potencies in her Kund, and those same potencies are certainly invested in Shamakund. Anantadev and others are unable to fathom the extent of those potencies, so how can an insignificant soul like me know them? You should know that I'm like a wooden puppet that dances according to your sweet will. My preceptor is your dear Gadadhar Pandit, who is a storehouse of love. My father says that he is an expansion of Srimati Radhika, and one can easily attain devotion to Krishna by his association. I simply repeat whatever he has mercifully told me, without considering whether it is right or wrong. That place where Kundeshwari Radha eternally resides is called Radha Kund. Who can understand the glories of that Kund? The predominating deities of all holy places reside there in unmanifest forms. The holy places deliver sinful persons from their sins, but the sins accumulate and remain at those places. When saintly persons visit those places, the sins are finally eliminated and the holy places again become sanctified. This is the statement of the Vedic literature. Radha Kund is the form of Krishna's internal energy. It is eternally perfect and the source of all energies. By remembering Radha Kund, all sins are destroyed. By reciting the glories of Radha Kund, one's faith in eternal religious principles increases. By seeing Radha Kund, devotional service is awakened, and simply by touching Radha Kund, one attains pure devotional service. One certainly attains Krishna by taking bath in the waters of Radha Kund. If one gives up his body on the shores of Radha Kund, he attains the service of Lord Krishna. Who can describe the unlimited qualities of Radha Kund? Listen now to the secondary qualities of Radha Kund. Those who live on the shore of Radha Kund and have attained perfection cry when they hear the names of Radha and Krishna. Simply by visiting Radha Kund, all one's miseries are mitigated, material existence is forgotten, one becomes joyful at heart. The waters of Radha Kund naturally act medicinally. By either bathing in or drinking those waters, one's diseases are destroyed, and the duration of one's life is increased. Sri Shamakund is connected with Radha Kund, and is as spiritual and dear to Krishna as Radha Kund. Sri Nandanandana always resides there in his eternal form. By seeing Shamakund, Krishna's form becomes manifested. Even Anantadev does not know the extent of Shamakund's glory. One attains Radha Krishna simply by bathing there or drinking the water. Saying this, Shri Achyuta offered his obeisances to Gauranga, and Gaur firmly embraced him in ecstatic love. Then Gaur said to Achyuta, "I feel that my body, mind, and soul have become sanctified by hearing the glories of Radha Kund today." They then went in great ecstasy to the practically lost site of Radha Kund, and Sri Chaitanya said, "O son of Advaita, here is Radha Kund. See the symptoms. Even though this holy place is practically lost from vision, one's distress is mitigated simply by seeing it. Otherwise, how have we suddenly become so joyful?" Gaur then loudly cried out the name of Radha, and on hearing that name, all the animals and birds cried in ecstatic love like topmost devotees of the Lord. Radha's name is the source of eternal ecstasy, and when that name emanated from the mouth of Sri Gauranga, it satisfied all living entities' desire for pure love. While loving devotion should not manifest on hearing that sound, that reads this way. Why loving devotion should not manifest on hearing that sound? Both moving and non-moving living beings shed tears in ecstatic love. Sri Gauranga then said, O son of Advaita, see how all living entities awaken to transcendental love on hearing Radha's name. There is no doubt that this is Radha Kund, and the pond connected to it is Shama Kund. Oh, how fortunate I am to have the darshan of Radha Kund. This is the inconceivable transcendental result of associating with devotees. Saying this, the omniscient Lord Gauranga became overwhelmed in ecstatic love and jumped into the waters of the Kund. He first immersed himself in Radha Kund, and then he went to Shama Kund. He took bath in Shama Kund and then came to Radha Kund. After completing his bath, he took mud from the Kund and smeared it over his entire body in ecstatic love. With deep affection, Gaur-Hari offered hundreds of obeisances and various prayers to the Kundas. Shri Achyuta became intoxicated with love while watching Gaur. He wandered around, roaring and exclaiming, "This is that transcendental Kund." In the mood of Kundeshwari Sri Radha, Mahaprabhu then cried out, "Where is the Lord of my life?" He displayed various ecstatic symptoms. One moment he was stunned, another moment he shivered, one moment he laughed loudly, the next moment he roared. One moment he danced, another moment he spoke some humble words. The great waves of the ocean of his ecstasy gradually grew, and as a result, he fell unconscious to the ground. Seeing the motionless like body of Gauranga, Achyuta incessantly cried, "Alas, what has happened to Gauranga, my life and soul?" After some time, the son of Sita regained his composure and began to gravely chant the name of Hari. Gaur regained his consciousness in the afternoon, and he began to dance and exclaim, "I found Radha Kund. These two Kunds belonging to Radha and Krishna have combined together to bestow mercy on the fallen souls of Kali Yuga." Then, holding Achyuta's hand, Gaurachanda circumambulated the Kundas while chanting the Mahamantra. In ecstatic love, Sri Achyuta offered hundreds of obeisances to the Kunds and then took his bath there. Hearing Achyuta's humble devotional prayers, Gaur sat there at the base of a tree and recovered his composure. He then said to Achyuta, "By dint of your association, Radha Kund has mercifully manifested." Achyuta replied, "Why do you make me an offender? I'm always under the shelter of your lotus feet. You perform transcendental pastimes in every millennium, and you uncover the lost places of pilgrimage to deliver the conditioned souls. Love of God and Radha Kund had remained hidden for a long time, but now Radha Kund has mercifully manifested." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, "This is an exaggeration. This is your father's habit, but I don't like it. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Everyone else is his servant. One who considers an ordinary living entity to be the Supreme Lord is doomed." Sri Achyuta said, "In your present pastimes, it is your nature to speak humbly and thus cover your real identity. But just as the sun cannot hide behind the clouds, Krishna cannot hide during his manifest pastimes." Achyuta then chanted the name of Hari, and Gaur said, "The holy name is the only truth. Give up this other talk." Achyuta then said, "After millions of pious activities, I have obtained the person who possesses the name." Saying this, he held Gaur's feet and cried. Gaur, the ocean of mercy, then manifested his eternal transcendental form of Lord Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure. Appearing on his left was Radharani, personification of ecstatic love of Godhead. Seeing those two personalities, Sri Achyuta was overwhelmed with ecstatic love, offered his obeisances, and composed many prayers. Gaur asked him, "Why are you glorifying me?" Then Shri Achyuta again saw Gaur as a sannyasi, and he said, "You have covered your form with the complexion of Sri Radha. By serving you, Radha and Krishna are both served." Saying this, Achyuta placed the lotus feet of the Lord upon his head. Gaur said, "You are the emperor of love for Krishna. Wherever you go, Radha and Krishna manifest before you." After saying this, Lord Chaitanya embraced Achyuta, who then began to dance in ecstatic love. When everyone heard about the location of the kunds, they became purified as they took darshan, bathed there, and drank its waters. Then Mahaprabhu went to Sri Govardhan, the site of Krishna's pastimes, where he lost consciousness due to ecstatic love. Regaining consciousness, he said, "O best of mountains, it seems you have become reduced in the absence of Krishna. Oh, how wonderful I see that you have the fragrance of Krishna's body. Come, let me embrace you and thus pacify my burning heart. Then I will go see if I can find my beloved life and soul." Speaking these words, Sri Chaitanya stretched out his arms and rushed forward to embrace Govardhan. Sometimes he stood up, sometimes he fell to the ground. He could not discriminate whether he was in a proper place or not. He then circumambulated the hill while chanting the holy names. Gaur's inconceivable pastimes were filled with transcendental love. He showered the nectar of his mercy and thus delivered living entities. Being overwhelmed with love, Sri Achyutananda sometimes cried, sometimes danced, and sometimes rolled on the ground. Gauranga wandered throughout the sacred forests of Raj, but when he saw the sight of the rasa dance, he became overflooded with ecstatic love. In the topmost state of Mahabhav, Gaur felt the mood of separation from Krishna and cried while reciting the Gopi Gita, the song of the gopis. One moment he imitated the pastimes of Radha Krishna, the next moment he sang, and another he danced. Even Lord Anantadev is unable to describe the great ocean of Gauranga's transcendental love. I am an insignificant insect, devoid of all knowledge. Under the instructions of the Vaishnavas, I am giving this brief account. Although Gaur had no desire to leave Raj, to satisfy the desires of his devotees, he left Raj with tears flowing from his eyes. Praying at the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Shri Advaita, always desiring their mercy, I, Ishana, narrate Shri Advaita Prakasha.